Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and I want to start with thanking in particular the organizers once more for their making it possible for us to meet and in this wonderful event, and also for each of the people here for making it meaningful that we meet through the conversation and the exchange. And I'm very honored to be here this morning to bring about a couple of civilian perspective on the IDP issue and share a couple of insights on the protection of IDP, insights that emerge from the hard work of unarmed civilian peacekeepers worldwide, work which I believe teaches us something actually essential about the nature of security, the texture, the fabric of security. As we just were reminded, over the last 2 decades, much has been attempted to ensure the protection of IDPs, safe areas already in the 1990s, the guiding principle, cluster policies between the UN agencies, humanitarian standards and charters to behave ethically, the responsibility to protect attempt as well, and yet we struggle. And in our struggles and failures, we have come to recognize that security not only results from a complex interactions of actors and factors, but also is a matter of perception. And that this feeling of security, of safety, or lack thereof, is fundamentally local. So that local context and local actors are actually key to protection policies. And yet protection, we know that, but protection remains a struggle to bring it close to people. And with nowadays more than 40 million IDPs worldwide, reasonably little international interest, we know that protection cannot come from armed interventions that are not there. And this is why I've spent the last year studying unarmed civilian protection, and this is what I want to share with you. Now, what is unarmed civilian protection, or UCP? These are teams that are trained in analysis, in observation, accompaniment, early warning, rumor control, mediation, and sent to conflict zone upon request of local civil society actors. And I've written it in red because this is really important, that it is upon local request. And contrary to humanitarians, these UCP teams bring nothing to the zone except their presence, their proactive presence. And also, these teams are not armed, not even to defend themselves, which is different than traditional peacekeeping. This means that they are actually physically as vulnerable as the people they accompany. And their daily security depends on the quality of the information they get and on the quality of the relationship they build with the actors around, including, of course, armed actors. The approach was imagined and experimented first in the 1980s. There's lots of variants of it now. It's picked up by international institutions. The OSCE is doing observation in many places, for instance. But I'm particularly interested in NGOs because I think their work shows us precisely what can or what cannot be done by mere civilian presence in terms of protections. Now, concretely, to give you a couple of ideas, it might mean monitoring ceasefires and checkpoints, like here in Kalandia between Ramallah and Jerusalem, or visiting displaced camp, like the picture that you have here is in the north of Iraq, and there was a lot of visiting necessary, especially, for instance, in the camps that were surrounding Mosul about a year and a half ago at the end of the siege, where people were coming out of Mosul and suspected to be Daesh supporters, and there were lots of rife rumors of extrajudicial killing, and it was very important to have people there. It's about often organizing patrols and including night patrols, which UNHCR cannot do in many camps. So witnessing and deterrence are key words in that work. But it also means accompaniment, and in particular accompanying community leaders who may be threatened, accompanying IDPs to police stations or during demonstrations or in trials when they are afraid to testify. Peace Brigade International, for instance, has done this work for a couple of decades in Latin and Central America. And this can mean doing shuttle diplomacy or mediation at times. But above all, what is important is that it is a presence that seeks to foster connections between local actors, including armed actors. And often in-house, it encourages local initiatives like the pictures you see at the top. These women peacekeeping teams were actually organized by displaced Sudanese women themselves to organize their own protection while fetching water or going for the wood, using all sorts of techniques, including forum theater, to prepare themselves for danger. Now, the key words here, of course, are encouraging, influencing. Now, these experiences are actually very fragile and have limits. We know that UCP is actually effective when violence is instrumental, when it is used for political or personal gain, and we can have leverage in these cases, but it makes less sense in other types of violence, when violence is completely socially accepted in society, for instance. It also varies with the level of impunity that we find, but impunity is something we can work on in the field. Within bounds, it actually gives remarkable local results. And in particular, what is important, I think, is that it empowers local non-armed security initiatives. And we need this today. Now, today, I think we can learn a couple of things from this work. And in particular, the first thing that I want to point out is that security should be understood as a matter of ties, from intimate family bonds to kinship, relationship with local power yielders, citizenship, spiritual religious connections, and international connections. And all these are essential as to how IDPs actually approach their situations and negotiate with the risk they take. And it's important for us to recognize that these ties start endogenous. They start from within, and they are themselves establishing and working on them. And we can help, if we listen in-house, to co-wave this kind of safety net. These ties are also, it's important to understand their DNA. They are made of fear, respect, trust, love, and they take time to build. So we have to maybe rethink our presence alongside that. And last but not least for us, this web of ties allows IDPs to circulate on territories. And circulation is actually a key to safety. The circulation to the market, to doctor place, the ability for people to actually move on the territory. I'm always struck by the ways in which people in conflict zone have incredibly creative ideas to try to keep safe passage. Oh, sorry, it has disappeared. Keep safe passage. And here you had a picture, I hope you saw it, it went viral around 2015, how people in Aleppo used old buses to protect circulation in the streets, to be able to keep moving in the zone. So indeed, what I think IDP's efforts and UCP approaches can help us do is to challenge understanding of security and of protection. Protection not so much as separation from the bad guys, but protection as fostering horizontal, vertical, diagonal connections that form a dynamic safety net, encouraging risk-taking, enabling circulation rather than trying to control it, which we often try, and creating safer spaces. Not safe space, safer, maybe a little bit safer, especially public spaces like schools, markets, way to school streets. Now, I try and understand UCP better, and in particular, the nature and depth of, well, that's not worked, nature and depth of the relationship that people in conflict zone build with those they fear most. The relationship with what you fear most is actually essential for us to understand. And I'm trying to understand what we'll get out from it and how these approaches can interact with more institutional approaches. So I'm really looking forward to your questions and to the discussion. Thank you.